most of the leaders out there in the world that are running businesses are doing it from a place of trauma, are doing it from a place of hurt, and they're doing it from a place of pain.
Because I always saw people like they got rid of the trauma, they became successful. But I've seen Hello, my fellow Ripplers. This is Chris Miles, your cash flow expert and anti-financial advisor. Welcome to the show. It's for you, those of you who work so hard for your money, and you're now ready for your money to start working harder for you today, not 30 or 40 years from now, but right now, so you can live that life that you love with those you love. But guys, it's not just about getting rich, it's about living a rich life, because as you're blessed financially, as you create greater prosperity in your life, you now have a greater ability to create a ripple effect for the lives of those around you. Thank you for tuning in today, guys. I appreciate you allowing me to create a ripple effect for you. You guys have been binging and sharing these episodes. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have not done so already, be sure to follow us on social media. Anything at Money Ripples, we're there. Whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, follow us there for sure. All right, guys. So I'm bringing on a friend here, Dalton Locke, that I'm so excited for this show, right? And not just because it's another guest, right? This guy here, I mean, he's a leader of the technology realm, an innovator and thought leader. I mean, this guy is a pioneer in the business world. He's been blending capitalism with spiritual principles so they can revolutionize the way that entrepreneurs can actually do business, which is what we want to talk about today. He's also the co-founder of the MIT 45, which is the $300 million business, guys. He's the host of The Spiritual Capitalist. Definitely invite you guys to follow that show as well. And the creator of Pono AI. He's basically redefining the way we view success in the 21st century. So, Dalton, welcome to our show.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me on here onto the show. I love the name Ripple, right? And when we were talking earlier about spirituality and capitalism, that's what it's about, man. Like just the word that you have in the title, Ripple, it's the ripple that capitalism, it's a ripple that entrepreneurs, it's a ripple that individuals that are being good stewards of their money are able to make in this world. And I believe that's really what it's about. So thank you so much for having me on.
Well, I usually say this question for the end, but I'm going to ask you this question right now because we're already talking about it. But Dalton, what do you feel is your ripple effect? Like, what do you feel like you're on this planet to do?
That's a great question. So one of the things I realize is that through my own experiences, my own traumas, through my own pain, I recognize that hurt people and healed people heal people. And what I realize is that the more that we're able to create an impact in human beings, the better this world can be. And what I mean by that is that most of the leaders out there in the world that are running businesses are doing it from a place of trauma, are doing it from a place of hurt, and they're doing it from a place of pain. If we can have those people that have an incredible amount of influence in the business world and in their communities go through a place of healing, at that point in time, they then can operate from a place of higher integrity and then take that same ripple and bring it into their community. And therefore, we don't have to wait for heaven to come, when we die. We can actually bring heaven here on earth. And so my goal is to help impact individuals one by one, impacting business owners one by one, and really creating that ripple and that change that I believe that the world so desperately needs.
Man, I love it. We're aligned there for sure, man. Well, tell us more about your story. Like, what kind of led you to this place where you are right now?
Sure. So I grew up in a town here in Utah called Layton. And at the point in time, my family was kind of middle class. We didn't really have a whole lot. And my mom and dad, not to put out their dirty laundry out there by any means, but, for a long time, they would go back and forth and they would almost get divorces and they would, have a lot of arguments that I think a lot of people and a lot of families deal with, right? Divorce is one of the biggest thing that I think impacts families by tearing them apart. Now, my family, they never actually went through divorce, but they always had a lot of arguments about money. And so in my heart and soul, I thought if I can figure out a way to master money, then therefore I'll end all pain, I'll end all suffering, right? That wasn't the case. It actually just solved money problems, but it didn't solve relationship problems. And so through my path of entrepreneurship and through my path of plenty of failures and doing a ton of self-improvement work and a lot of work on myself, and there's always new levels to this, is that I recognize through all of it is it was really my traumas that was leading me into business. And through that, I wanted to make sure that I was able to turn around and start to make an impact because I wanted to change the world. And so I found a company with a partner of mine named Sean Brady, originally as the founder of Mint 45. And we got involved in that business because we saw that this plant could actually change people's lives. And through that, it opened up so many doors. And I was able to have the freedom to go explore that which was inside that was broken. And I don't know if broken is actually the right word the more I think about it, but it was that place inside of me that really was asking to be healed and asking to be dealt with and asking to be seen. And there's always new levels to this. Like there's always new places that are evolving and opening. But I can say that having a level of financial abundance to be able to do the work or to be able to impact the world helps a lot. And so I want to find more people like that to align with, which is really more so my mission.
Yeah. What, I mean, how important do you see that as being, a key role for people to figure out now versus later? Because I know a lot of people, they come to the show, they're like, I want to know the strategy. So how do I create that passive income? How do I get to the point where I work offshore, where I work because I want to, not because I have to, right? All that kind of stuff, right? But, we talked about, you talked about traumas. I know you and I have had some personal conversations about this before. Like, how important is it to address those traumas now versus just wait until you're financially free and then address it?
I love that. That's a really beautiful question because it's like this. Okay, so say for instance that you're walking around in life and you're carrying some form of dis-ease in your body, right? And it's some kind of discomfort. I'm sure all of your listeners, everybody's listening, everybody's healthy and everybody's fine. But this is just a story. And so if we look at somebody that is going through a lot of health issues, now they can either wait until they're financially capable of dealing with these things, or they can deal with them now. Because chances are the businesses or the things they're doing, they're running from a program of trauma, thinking once I become this thing, I'll have this thing and I will end this thing. When really the reality is it's something to deal with today, but it's also being aware of it, because most of us aren't aware of that's what's going on because we've gotten so good at covering those things up. We've gotten so good at not dealing with them. We've gotten so good at using our pain to push through that. You've heard the no pain, no gain, like to me against the world. It's all of these basically belief systems that have been pushed into someone else's reality. So to answer your question is I would say the sooner someone can deal with those things, the better off they're going to be in the long run.
I mean, you and I both know people in the business space. I mean, sometimes it's their traumas that drive them to success, right? I mean, isn't that a good thing?
It's always their traumas, I believe, that drive them to success. It depends. I mean, so the question is, there's always going to be some type of price you're going to have to pay for the things that you want. And unfortunately, what I see a lot in men, and that's the only place I can really speak to the most because it's the place that I align with the most, obviously. And I see a lot of people give up their time, their freedom, their families, their passions to pursue their goals and dreams, which is typically those goals and dreams are tied to some type of financial number. And that place can almost kill you. In 2016, I woke up one morning with blood clots. I didn't know it at the time. It was extremely painful, but I had been going after my dreams, my goals, and giving up everything along the way, including family time, including broken relationships, including not having a family, all those things for the pursuit of financial freedom. And that financial freedom literally almost killed me. And when that happened, I made decisions and choices to say that, like, I'm not going to put off today for tomorrow. Yes, I'm still going to have to do some things, of course, like every human being, but I'm not going to put off the things that are the most important, because chances are when I'm on my deathbed, I'm not going to lay there and say, man, I wish I would have made a couple more $1 million. I'm probably going to lay on my deathbed and say, like, why didn't I spend more time with my mom and dad while they were alive? Why didn't I actually create something of impact? Why didn't I actually try to change the world while I had the opportunity and I could walk and I could breathe and I could really live this world? Why didn't I travel more and see different cultures and communities and listen to more different types of music or try different kinds of foods? Because let's just say we only got one run at this life and we're only going to go around this planet so many times and we're only going to see the sun so many times. I would rather mother say I squeezed everything I could out of this life. I experienced everything I could than waiting on the other side. So yes, your trauma is going to be the thing that can push you forward in life. And it can also be the same thing that's going to bury you.
Right. Well, that's one thing I know that was kind of a recent epiphany to me, because I because I always saw people like if they were if they got rid of the trauma, they became successful. But I've seen more so, and especially after speaking with you, I'm starting to notice more and more. I see these ultra successful, especially guys, right, that are driven sometimes out of fear, not even out of like desire or faith. It's a fear of like poverty or a fear of, of insignificance or something of that nature, right? Wait, how prevalent have you seen that in the business world?
I've seen that a lot. I used to have an old mentor that told me that you need to focus more on where you don't want to be versus where you want to go. And I used that for a long time, but then that means that we're pushing towards where we don't want to go in a way, and we're focusing on the pain and we're focusing on the suffering. If I don't do this thing, then I'm going to go back to being homeless. If I don't do this thing, my family's not going to love me. If I don't, and that in a way is causing a lot of stress to the nervous system. Instead of focusing on like, where is it that I want to go? What is it I want to be remembered for? It's the power of our questions that lead us to the creation of our life. Because I truly believe that what we see in our mind, what we see in and feel in our heart, that is what we actually bring into our reality. And so it's really important to focus on where it is that we want to go versus the opposite of where we don't want to go. And so, yes, I see a lot of that in men. I see a lot of pain. I mean, look, it's really easy. You want to see a lot of pain? Go to the bar at 7, 8 o'clock at night, and you're going to see a lot of pain and a lot of men, unfortunately, that are trying to connect with other men. Like you'll hear them say, I love you, brother. But they won't say it in the day-to-day life. They'll only say it when they're a little bit inebriated. They'll talk about their pain. They'll talk about their suffering, but only in those moments. Most men in general suffer in silence. And the way they end that suffering in silence is with a gun to the head. That's why we see so many suicides. That's why we're seeing all these things, because men are not communicating. There's a lot of groups out there right now, which I'm really proud of, so many of them, that are bringing men out to speak with other men, because we've lost this tribal union where we need to come together and we need to say, hey, brother, I see your pain and suffering. And the reason I can see your pain and suffering because I also see my own pain and suffering. And I'm no better than you. You're no better than me, but we are on this planet together. And there's no reason we shouldn't be actually being aware of each other, because we're not alone. And so, yes, you see a lot of men in the business world, doctors, attorneys, lawyers. I mean, you can see it all over. Just look at men's eyes when you go out into the world that are really pushing towards something, and often ask like, is this the thing they're doing because they're suffering, or is this the thing they're doing because they're actually living a place of freedom?
If you've been following this podcast, you're probably looking for great ways to create passive income right now, right? Well, we got you covered here with Central Lending. Central Lending specializes in alternative investments that actually are designed to create steady returns and long-term financial security for you and your family. Now, they prioritize transparency. They love, building those strong relationships, giving you that confidence and peace of mind, knowing that you have your money working harder for you, so you don't have to work so hard for that money. You want to learn more how to do that? Go to centrallending.com and check out what they've got today to create your passive income and wealth creation right now.
Right. Why do you think that is? Like, why has that become such a big issue now? Like, why are we so disconnected today than we were, say, 50 or 100 years ago?
I probably would say, I mean, I'm not an expert on any of these things, but if I was to look at it, you go to somewhere like Europe. I was in Barcelona for quite some time, for about 7, 8, 9 months to a year. And while I was there, I saw that the communities, they're together. Like they have these little like courts and everybody comes together on Sundays and, they have community. We've lost community. We think we find community through social media. We think we find community through, TikTok and Instagram and so on, and hearts and likes and so on. That's great. That's validation, but we're not actually building community. And yes, we go away to weekend retreats. And yes, people go away to, like you and I, we work in a lot of networking events together and so forth. And that's great in those moments. But when I'm suffering, that's not like where I'm building my community from. And we're all going to suffer. Like we're all going to go through some type of trauma and pain. Even those that think that they're healed, something's going to happen that's going to derail them, and they have to get back on to who they know that they are. But I really, truly believe it's because we've lost community, because men, for the most part, they've always been numbing out. It's either alcohol or, something that brings people together that way. But I'd actually say because of those dark nights that we've had, because of things like, the pandemic and so forth, where we separated even further from each other, I believe it's actually done the opposite. And I think it's slowly starting to bring us together to where we're starting to realize we cannot do this alone,
Yeah.
like we can't do it alone, and we weren't meant to do it alone. And I don't think that it's always easy for us to look backwards in life and think that another community, another culture, someone else had it better than we did. And the chances are they probably didn't. We've got more comforts. We've got more ability to connect. But the choice is, are we going to connect? Are we going to look at someone in the eyes while walking the city? Are we going to give someone a hug? Are we going to talk to them? Are we going to, be brave enough to say hello? Or when someone's suffering, ask how they're doing and how's their heart? Or are we going to keep talking about football and how's the weather and all this stuff? Are we really going to truly try to do our best to communicate? Because most people will talk about their sex life, they'll talk about money, they'll talk about all of these things, but most people won't talk about the heart of the matter because they're too afraid of being seen. Nobody wants to be seen. It's a scary place to be. But when I can let down my own walls and let somebody else in and connect heart to heart, that is a place that someone will never forget.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, this kind of ties in with that. If whether it's someone's doing, traumas they haven't addressed, or even just this kind of situation, what's like a good first step? Like, what's something that someone can do to kind of break this cycle?
I think the first thing to do is just to something I think that we all can do is close our eyes. And when something comes up in the space of emotion, so say for instance that something happens and occurs, and a lot of places, the best place for this to happen is with a partner or a family member, someone that all of a sudden something occurs and I feel something deep. Like I feel pain, I feel remorse, I feel guilt, I feel sadness, I feel hurt, whatever it is. And then go inside and say, okay, this makes me feel hurt and this makes me feel pain. And when is the first time that I can actually remember that occurring? And it's probably going to be anywhere between about 0 and 6. Now, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not any of these things. This is just my own work. And then once I see where that has occurred, now I can bring some at least awareness to it. And then I can recognize that this thing that occurred, I'm not a victim to it. It occurred, it happened, or I did said thing, however, or this thing was done to me, but that is in the past. And now I get to then see from that pain and suffering, or that feeling I'm experiencing right now, like where it occurred first, and I get to heal from that space. And there's a lot of different ways, once that we have awareness of things, because I think awareness is the first place, that you can do your work, as they call it, right? And work is every single day. It's not anything that's ever done. It's just bringing awareness to the emotions. But there's places you can do breath work. There's obviously, there's psychologists, there's plant medicines, there's men's groups. There's a lot of different places that I think everybody has to explore the path that's right for them. And some people it's religion, there's all kinds of different things. And I'm not one to say what that is for somebody, but I think the first place is just being aware and being accountable. My partner and I will always say, when something comes up between the two of us, what is going on? And then the conversation always goes back to, this is a me thing. The way I feel, what I'm experiencing is a me thing. And that's a place I get to heal within myself. But thank you for bringing that to my awareness. And so there's a lot of different paths to cross to get there, but there's not one.
Yeah, that's great. That's great advice right there. In fact, I think if people were more accountable, we probably would heal a lot faster too. It's
Facts.
a lame game. That's the problem.
And it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
It's a waste of time to continue to blame everybody for what's occurring, what's happened. You had Dr. Phil on TV for a while. You had Oprah on TV for a while back in, I think, the 90s. And it was like all my problems, all the things that have happened to me because of my parents or whatever it was, instead of saying, you know what, like that thing that happened made me who I am today. That thing occurred. However, it might not have happened to me. Its potential might have happened for me, because who I am today is based upon those choices, based upon those experiences have happened. And you're not alone. Everybody has dealt with all kinds of BS in this world. And unfortunately, that's part of the duality of this experience we have here on this planet.
That's right. Man, this is great stuff, man. I know that we're going to go a different path, but this kind of ties in with really, I know you have the spiritual capitalist podcast that you have too. tell us, because in the general world, right, capitalism has almost become a swear word, especially for certain belief systems and so forth, right? But I know, like, just like you probably have, like, as you've seen with time, like, there's a way to do it right. What is a spiritual capitalist?
I love that. Well, let's first talk about capitalism from the perspective where most people know it as, and that is that it's working off the sweat. It's like basically getting paid off the sweat of someone else's back, right? That's like this whole thing, and that there's no alignment in any of that. But really, if we look at it, the people that are going to co-create with someone that is running or operating a business, they're only doing it because they believe in the dreams of that individual, for the most part. Like, they have to believe in it, or they've also put themselves in some situation. So say, for instance, you've got people working at Amazon, or you've got somebody working in a restaurant or whatever they're doing. Those are stepping stones to get to somewhere else. But in order to get to that place, someone has to invest into themselves, into their future, whether it's in personal development, whether it's education, whether it's coaches, whether it's whatever it is. I really don't believe that there's an excuse in this life if somebody wants to continue to go after the things that they're passionate about, the things that excite them, the things that get them out of bed, and they're willing to put in the time, the effort, the energy over and over and over, and fall on their face and get back up again, and fall on their face and get back up again to reach where they want to reach. And so a lot of people that are against capitalism in such an intense way, they're against it because they're not willing to do the thing. It feels like a lot of people I hear that are against capitalism, they want things to be almost handed to them. I'm not saying all people. I'm just saying some of my experiences because I get in these conversations a lot. But I think spiritual capitalism is a little bit different, and that is that you're aligning with people that align with your vision and mission, that you're making sure as your company is growing that you're taking care of your people, meaning giving them, healthcare and education and the right to pursue their goals and dreams, and giving them, the ability to be able to show up the best of themselves and co-creating together. And so to me, it's really about, for me personally, it's about going after a vision much bigger than myself and doing it with other people that joyfully are doing it, right? Like, if someone doesn't want to work on a project, or they don't want to be part of a company, they might be a wonderful person, but they're just not the right person for where the company is going. They're not the right person for where the vision's going. And I'm sure there's many, many other places where they can be best served. So it's really just finding that place of an alignment within myself, my community, my culture, our staff members, the messaging, and trying to do the best that I can at the things I do. Will it be perfect all the time? No, but it's doing our best. What does spiritual capitalism mean to you? I mean, you focus in this capitalistic space all the time. You're focused on helping people make sure that they're getting abundance in their life and creating residual income. What does it mean to you?
Yeah, I think kind of sum up what I'm hearing from you too, but it also kind of ties up what I believe is that people look at traditional capitalism as like where you use people to make more money. But instead with spiritual capitalism is you're using money as a tool to serve and help more people. That could be your own people, your customers, really just creating that service, creating that value in the world. And I think that's where real capitalism comes. That's where like real longevity of business comes in too, because, when you're taking care of other people, they want else to take care of you.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, if you have people that believe, so right now we've been building out our system Pono. I've talked to you a little bit about, basically it's allowing business owners so that they can get their time back, and they're using technology to be able to do so they can get back to what's important, which is their culture, the community, and their family, and their impact. And we've been now having a lot of different issues. And so my team, they says, you know what, like, this isn't working right now. I'm going to go hire on other people on my own dime, my contractor, saying, so we can fix this. It's because they believe in the vision. They see it being something bigger than they are. Why do you think Elon Musk and a lot of other incredible innovators in this world are able to pay people less money in the beginning? Because their vision is so big. People can get a job anywhere for the most part. Like, if they really want to work, I think for the most part, there's a lot of jobs out there. If someone has the education, if someone has the skill sets and, the social skills. Yeah. But if someone's business is not aligned with the vision and mission that they have, they got all kinds of opportunities and choices. And so they don't have to pick that choice, that option. They can pick something else. And so I think a lot of even spiritual capitalism is that we have to align with what people want in that vision, right? It's that whole thing. I think it was Dan Sullivan. He has a book called Who Not How. And he talks about how it's the who that we need, not the how, because I can't do most things I can't do. I just can't do it. I don't know how to do it. But it's getting that who in place that aligns with my values, my goals, my heart, and that are wanting to go that way. And so I believe most of the people that would work with me, I would believe that their visions and their mission is in alignment with where we're going. And I think that's what it really matters, because the people have to believe in the leader they're working with, because if they don't, it's chaos. It's just chaos. And a business is never, ever going to get to where it could possibly go to.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of, this is like stark contrast to like the Jack Welch type of philosophy, which is like, burn it down, make it profitable, everything for a profit, right? And what I'm hearing you say is it's more, if you understand it, it's all about who, not how, like you said, right? It's all about the people aligning with their vision, as well as how that also can work within your vision too, and aligning together. Then you can be not just profitable, but you can be drastically successful. You can actually create something amazing.
Yeah. I mean, again, you can die with all this money in your account, right? But like, who did you impact on this earth? We're all going to impact people in a negative way, whether we like it or not. We're all predicators of pain, and we're also predicators of change, meaning we can make change if we choose to. But again, going back to that trauma, it's usually those traumas that make us want to see the world in a better place. And I believe that most of the time, visionaries and business owners, the only way they get paid is to solve a problem that people are willing to pay for. That's right. It's the only way. If you can't figure out the problem, then you can't solve it. But once you're able to solve it, how do you do that in a way that is going to be, I hate the win-win, but it's just true. Like, how's it going to be a win for your customers? How's it going to be a win for your staff? How's it going to be a win for the community? How's it going to be a win for you? And that's what it comes down to, right? And I think that it gets to be a place in time that maybe even a lot of your audience finds where they reach a level of financial comfort to where now they're not in a place where they're just trying to go get and have, like, how much stuff can you have? How many cars can you have? How many houses can you have? But there's going to be a place in time where people say, you know what? I have no desire to try to sell people, manipulate people to get something, because it's not as fun, it's not as enjoyable, it's not as impactful as it is to do something I really enjoy doing and working with people I really enjoy working with and impacting the planet the way I want it to impact it. Because there's a lot of problems on this planet right now. And I believe that entrepreneurs are the ones to solve it. We have poor water in a lot of places. Just got back from Indonesia, terrible water. We were out there trying to figure out a way, how do we help the farmers make more money to help their communities, to help their schools, to do those things. There's plenty of places right now with bad air quality. The oceans right now need a lot of, we need to save a lot of this things that we are here on this planet using those resources. But I always believe that we can do better, and we're never going to run out of problems to solve. So if we can do it in a way that's going to be helpful to the world and helpful to the people that we're serving, because I think really a business leader is always in a place of service. Like, why else would you work those many hours? I mean, it's a lot of time sometimes. Like, why else would you do that unless you're really trying to help your people?
Yeah. See, Dalton, this is why I had you on my show. And I can tell everybody else knows why too, because this is exactly aligns with what we've been trying to teach. And you said it beautifully. This is wonderful. You guys, if you hadn't done this already, go back, rewind this at least 2 more times, or listen to these last few minutes alone. This is like the crux of everything we talk about with that money ripple, that ripple effect through yourself and that prosperity and everything. So, well, Dalton, I appreciate your time. I know you were very generous with it. I mean, obviously you've got the podcast. What's the best way for people to follow you?
You can follow me over on Facebook, is primarily where a lot of people come to, which is just Dalton Locke. And then you can also go check us out on YouTube at The Spiritual Capitalist, where we're merging the conversation of spirituality and capitalism. And we're trying to figure this thing out. I don't have it all solved. I don't want to pretend to, but we're merging and we're talking about AI, plant-based medicines, and business and leadership and self-discovery and self-development, and really trying to figure out how do we collectively do this stuff together. Like, I want to assimilate the biggest superheroes in the world because I can't do this mission on my own. I don't pretend to do this mission on my own, but I know together we can come together and we can help grow this planet and bring heaven here on this earth and not wait till, the next experience over. So I do appreciate you though having me on. And again, I don't have all the answers. I'm just discovering as much as everybody else, and would always love to have conversations with like-minded people, and people even disagree. So.
Well, I love it, man. Well, everybody, we'll be sure to put the show notes so you can follow Dalton. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure we're going to have you back, Dalton, again, because this interview couldn't have been long enough. You're just barely scratching the surface. I know there's so much more we can go to. So again, I really appreciate your time.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for having me on. And just one thing to your listeners.
Yeah.
Think about the ripple. If you take a little rock and you throw it in the water, watch the ripple it makes. Watch the ripple it makes when you are able to do your own healing and you have that "it's a wonderful moment" experience. And then think about the way that you're going to now change and ripple that place of love into the rest of the world and to the rest of the community, and then being the ripple for other people that see you and then also want to make that big change.
Perfect, man. Appreciate that. Great advice. Everybody, be sure to follow Dalton. We'll put that in the show notes. Remember, like, listening to this is one thing, but taking action on some of this stuff is what changes your life. Be sure not just be a hearer of the word, but be a doer as well. Go and make it a wonderful and prosperous week, and we'll see you later.